Many thanks for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. Of course, last Friday, June 27th, the news broke about evening that the era had ended of the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdoulaye Ganduje, who was said to have resigned his position as the national chair of the party, citing health reasons. Though some watchers have said perhaps this could be true, but there seem to be deeper concerns as to why he actually resigned from his post as the national chair of the APC. We intend to take a look at these on the program today. What does this portend for the party going forward? There have been numerous talks from corners whether or not this is a calculated move or it is just a case for him to have honorable left before he was butchered out of office. Joining the conversation this morning is a journalist and public affairs analyst, Adewale Adeoye. Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's trace it just a little bit to about 2 weekends ago when Abdoulaye Ganduje attended a political meeting in Borno State, and he, of course, was talking about the need for the people to galvanize support for Mr. President in 2027. But he was booed because he did not mention the name of the incumbent vice president, and the people were said to have said, well, if you're not here to canvass for the vice president alongside Mr. President, then we will probably not listen to you. Taking a look from that action and numerous intricacies that have been happening in the APC in recent times, did you see that resignation as a timely one or a calculated one?
Well, I think first of all, it's very rare in Nigeria to see public officers resign. It's a very rare thing. So I commend him that when you have disagreement, you don't insist on holding on to power. That one option for a public officer, if you have disagreement with certain issues, is to resign. So I think it's a very good development. I also think that his resignation, he cited personal reasons. Health reasons, personal reasons. But there are other reasons that, appear to be very speculative, but that cannot be ruled out.
Okay, such as?
Yes, in the first instance, if there are health challenges, the coincidence is curious. That, okay, it's now that you have, when the presidential election was so rigorous, it was going from one place to the other, there are no health challenges. So it's likely that many people will not accept that as the main reason. And they see it as part of the intrigues going on within the APC. And I think some suggestions people are throwing up is that the former governor of Kano State, Kwankwaso, wants to come to APC. And that because they are sworn enemies, even though he was formerly his deputy,
right.
That because of that, he's not ready to be in the same party with Kwankwaso. The other reason being speculated is that due to the crisis over who will become the vice president,
candidate, right.
That there was a kind of intensive prayer on him to quit. But I think it's important to know that his leaving the party does not necessarily signify that, resigning does not necessarily signify that he's leaving the party. He has not made any announcement
that at all, right.
So I think for the APC, that's a very good development. And for the fact that up to now he has not left the party means that there's a window of opportunity for the party to engage him and to ensure that at the end of the day does not leave the party. The other issue is that even if he leaves the party, where does he really want to go? Is it to go to the PDP that many of them have, are coming over to? We understand the Bayelsa State governor is even making moves to come over. So is he going to go to a shipwreck party that appears not to have a fusion? Then what is actually a so political fusion? If he goes to the PDP, will he be accepted? And will they give him recognition? Will he be given a higher status, than remaining in the APC? And there are also speculations that the president wants to make him an ambassador. And then he was advised to resign. But I think up to now, we are not really sure of
Why
why he has left that party. But one thing is certain, that his leaving the party has not created a major crisis within the party. And it appears that the party may still be able to manage the grievances. It's also a suggestion that as time goes on, we cannot draw conclusion that the APC is immune from internal contradictions that can actually lead to a future split. Because most of the time, the issues that actually lead to division in the party is who becomes the presidential candidate. In this case now, we are not having that problem. But the problem is who emerges as the vice president. So that may lead to a major crack in APC. So it's not safe for us to conclude that, oh, the APC is not going to have any problem. You know. But I think one can speculate rightly that the crisis in the APC may not be that monumental compared with the PDP.
What is happening in PDP?
Because more governors are coming to APC. And then the fact that the APC, former Kano State APC governor left the party, may not signify that the APC may lose its own base. That is Kano State. Because if they are going to bring in Kwankwaso, I think he remains the godfather of Kano politics. You know, so, and I think his frontiers goes beyond Kano. He's very popular in Jigawa State, even up to Katsina State. Last election, he had 6.5%, which was significant. And most of the votes he had, are from Kano, Jigawa, Asi. So if Kwankwaso is going to come into that party, I think it's going to strengthen the party. It's going to give the party an opportunity to make further inroads into the north.
Okay. Is this an indication that, like some people are insinuating, that we are beginning to see realignment as we prepare for 2027 election? And does it also indicate that it's going to be another Muslim ticket at the end of the day as well? And Ganduje being quiet, is it a signal that all is not well? Because when people are quiet, you cannot predict what they can do. You cannot predict what they are going through. So is being quiet now, what does it portend for the APC?
Well, I think it's not the only one that is quiet now. The president has not spoken. So I think being quiet might mean two things. That he's taking his time to take decisions that may create rupture within the party. It may also mean that he's keeping quiet to give her a room for the the power brokers in the party
to engage
him, and then to have a resolution on the way forward. And probably he's also waiting for the president who is away in St. Lucia, to come back, and then probably when the president comes back, he'll be able to engage him constructively. But I think one thing is clear about the current APC leadership. It shows clearly that you don't necessarily need to go to war. You don't need to win a war by firing bullets. What we have had in the past is that former presidents would blackmail people to come to the ruling party, either through blackmail, through harassment, through a lot of things. But in this case, we are seeing people coming on their own. It's not as if there were not, perhaps through incentives being offered for them through persuasion. You remember what happened in 2007 when the presidential election took place. It was a do or die. It's either you are with the PDP in the southwest or you'll be removed. But in this case now, we're having people coming to that party, out of their own volition. Probably after the president had engaged them and probably offered them certain incentives. So the APC has been picking people from the opposition like cherries without necessarily blackmailing them, without going to war with them and all that. So I think if you look at if that tradition is going to guide us, it may mean that Ganduje will be engaged, and then his terms will be listened to, and then the leadership of the party may be able to bring him back into the fold without necessarily leading to any leading to any major crisis.
Right. Earlier, you mentioned that we cannot rule out the issues of internal rancor within the party. And since Friday, that the news of Ganduje's resignation broke out, we've been seeing, especially the North Central, jostling for you know, the position. Again, because according to them, there is a zoning formula of the party. So how much of, what role does zoning formula play in the internal wranglings of political parties? And how key is it that the parties also adhere to their own home rules?
Yeah, I think according to the APC constitution, I think section 14, subsection 2, 3, when the party chairman leaves, the person that replaces him will come from the same zone with him.
Right.
There are 2 deputy national chairmen.
Right, there's North.
We have one in the north, we have one in the south. I think Enechukwu from Enugu State from the south. And then we have Dalori, who is from Borno State,
right,
you know, from the north. So constitutionally, he's the ones that are supposed to replace him. And now that we have him, people are trying to lobby that he should come to the North Central. They are already suggesting Makura,
yes,
you know, former Zamfara State you know, governor, to replace him. But I think, for what I'm seeing is that there is a strong lobby to ensure that the current vice president, you know, does not run with President Tinubu. And I'm not sure for now what is going to be the implication, but I am certain that it's going to affect the APC fortunes in Borno State. There's no doubt about that, because the current governor of Borno State is very loyal to the vice president.
right,
Is blindly loyal to the vice president. And also, in Borno State, the current governor is a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
He's a very popular governor. He's doing well. So he's most likely to be in a position to determine the pendulum, where the pendulum swings in the next presidential election. So if the vice president is going to be dropped, definitely it's going to affect the fortunes of the party in Borno State. In Yobe State, it is not certain, because the current governor, if he happens to be the beneficiary of the choice of the vice, you know, if they are going to change the vice president and happens to be the beneficiary, he's going to stand his ground to ensure that he does not lose his state, which is Yobe. So, and don't also forget that Borno State had over 1 million votes that was given to APC in the last election. So it's going to really, if they are going to drop the vice president, I think there's going to be, you know, it's going to affect the fortune of the party in Borno State. However, the acting chairman, national chairman now, is also from Borno,
right,
and he was former APC chairman in Borno State. So it's neither here nor there. So there's going to be stiff competition in Borno State, but I think the governor is in a better position to have upper hand, given his position. But that does not mean that the APC will lose everything in Borno because of the current calculation, having Dalori from Borno State, who was also former party chairman in that state.
Sorry, okay. Sorry, just to add to what you've said. So from what you've just analyzed now, that means that it's going to be very difficult if the APC decides not to use Kashim Shettima as a vice presidential candidate in 2027. So my question is, from what you're seeing, of course, speculatively now, why would the president want to choose, or the party, let me say the party, why would the party want to choose another candidate to run with Mr. President if they know that, of course, Kashim Shettima also in the north enjoys some kind of popularity? Well,
as of today, the party has not said that, you know, the party will not pick the vice president. But we are still working on speculations. Right. But you know that also in politics, speculations are very important, because when speculations become consistent and persistent, then there are some elements of truth, you know, in such speculation. So the issues people are raising is that, number one, the president has faced the fiercest criticism from Borno State, especially from Ndume, Senator Ndume.
Zulum.
Yes, and also from Zulum, you know, where the vice president comes from. But the criticisms coming from Zulum and that coming from Ndume are not essentially the same. Ndume is attacking the party based on sentiment, based on the fact that, you know, he doesn't want support for the president. He's clearly coming out to confront. But when you look at the criticism of Zulum, I think they are based on
issues.
principles, on critical issues about the tax reform,
Security.
about security. So his own is confronting the system.
Right.
Why
Not the
Ndume is,
personality.
attacking
Mr.
the personality
President.
of the president. So I think that, and you see on many occasions, the governor of Borno State has come out to say, to admit that the president is doing well in certain areas. So he's looking at the system, but in terms of Ndume, he's talking like somebody who actually doesn't like the president. And so I think there are two things. But in all, the party expected the vice president to have engaged the Senator Ndume and
As well as
also
Governor Zulum.
the governor to ensure that at least they should minimize public criticisms. Because if you are within the same party, coming out openly to criticize the party is sending wrong signals to party members in that axis. And perception is very important in politics. When people begin to have the pressure that their leaders are not with the party, when times come to vote, it's going to affect the people, the way people are going to vote in that state.
Voting pattern.
Okay, aside from this criticism coming from Senator Ndume and the governor of Borno State, Zulum, what are the other factors that you think might be responsible for Mr. President not wanting to use his vice in case he wants to run again? Because Mr. Vice President has been very, very visible. He's been very engaging.
Quite loyal too.
And very loyal. And what are the likely consequences for Mr. President and his party, especially now that the coalition are beginning to gather some momentum?
In politics, there are seen and unseen
Forces.
forces and factors. What we are speaking based on what we are seeing.
Right.
But the unseen elements sometimes are louder, than even the one that are silent. Because there are issues of security reports. Based on open and covert meetings being held by people that may be known to the president but unknown to us.
To us.
There are also critical factors like in terms of the weight of that person in his zone. In the north we have three ethnic blocks. We have the Hausa, we have the Kanuri, then we have the Fulani. So the Fulani hegemony felt that with the exit of Buhari, they've lost power. And it's a very formidable bloc in the north. Not much about the population, but much about the influence that bloc, has been able to, that bloc has over years since 1960, when power was actually handed over to them. For instance, when you go to Ilorin, the Fulani may appear to be a very small ethnic group, but in terms of political influence, it is the most dominant force in Kwara State. So, in the north, the Fulani today remains the power brokers. They control the MIs, the voting pattern, the world delineation and all that. So it's a very strong force in that area. And I think they are saying that, look, we don't have the president, we don't have the vice president. If you want us to support us in this election, let us have our man. And I believe that may not be far from the reason why people like El Rufai left the party. Maybe there are other reasons anyway. That's not enough, but I think that's also a major reason. And also the chairman of the party that left recently is also Fulani, Ganduje, So I think that issue is there. And don't forget that Atiku is also Fulani. So if there is no rallying figure who is a Fulani man in the APC, the fear that Atiku may use that as a advantage, as a bargaining chip to get more support from them. But also the Kanuri is also a major force to be reckoned with, especially in Borno and Yobe. So it's now left for the APC how to manage these contradictions. But I believe strongly that the APC will still go for a Muslim ticket, a Muslim ticket in the coming election. It's just for strategic reasons. Why did Adeoye in 1993 picked and 92 picked King Ibe? He's also a Muslim and also from Borno State. So the calculation is that, look, you have to understand the sentiments of people in the north in terms of their voting tradition, in terms of their voting pattern, in terms of their sociology. So it's not likely that you are going to pick a Christian from the north, you know, in the coming election. So maybe still have a Muslim ticket. And I think that may be a winning formula for any party that, you know, is going to contest in the next election. Picking a Christian may be good. It may be to us in the south. But in terms of strategic influence
and electoral value,
I think APC will still stick to Muslim ticket in the coming election. Yeah.
Right. Earlier, you also tipped the possible return of Rabiu Kwakwanso into the APC as one of the reasons, you know, why Ganduje might have resigned, because we know that they do not see eye to eye. They are sworn enemies, especially when it comes to politics. But if actually this comes to fruition, at the end of the day, Rabiu Kwakwanso comes to the APC, how much of influence will he be bringing to the APC, and is this able to bridge the gap in the current internal wranglings or internal issues that we have within the APC fold?
I think in the north, as we speak, I think Atiku and Kwankwaso, they are the most formidable political figures in the whole of northern Nigeria. So if Kwankwaso, we are not talking about Kano politics alone.
Right, Nigeria
we are
politics.
Talking of the
northern region, right.
So Kwankwaso has a movement which is very influential in many states in the north. So he remains a father figure in politics of the north as we speak today. Compare with the Abba Yusuf, the current
governor.
Abba Yusuf, the governor of Kano State. And also when Ganduje came for the first time, he was one that was responsible for the emergence of Kwankwaso. And he has spent more time since 1998 in northern politics, more than any of his successors in Kano State. So I think if the APC, in terms of value, in terms of electoral value, I think Kwankwaso is more strategically relevant to the APC. But I also think that Ganduje has been very loyal. In the most difficult times when the party didn't want to pick Tinubu, he stood by him.
Indeed.
He stood by him. When even though people were leaving the party, and all, he stood by him. And he was able to mobilize a lot of people in the north, especially his Fulani stock, to ensure that, look, let us support this man. So I think that loyalty is something you cannot buy with cash.
Right.
And I think it should not be overlooked. So there must be a way to reconcile with him so that we don't just throw him away because we feel that Kwankwaso is coming to the party. Because Kwankwaso has also, you know, he also had his own political mood swings from PDP to APC to NNPC. So there is no guarantee that you can hold him. You know, it depends on where his interests lay. Right. He might decide to leave the party at any time. Compare with Ganduje, who has been consistent, who has been loyal, you know, who stood the president at the most difficult times. You know, so I think that we should not just throw away Ganduje just because we feel that it's not that influential enough.
Okay, loyalty is key when it comes to politics. And the other time, I put a question to you that how do you think Ganduje will be feeling with all of these? And when you assess his performance in terms of his position as the chairman of APC, he's been able to get more people to come into the APC. And, you know, by and large, you will give him like 90% in terms of performance. So why would any party want to sacrifice such a product who has added value to that party? And this move by the APC, is this a reaction to the coalition being formed ahead of 2027?
Yeah, the APC is at the stage that can take a decision that may mark or that may make or mar the party if care is not taken. But thank goodness, I think the president, with all sense of responsibility, is quite experienced. He has been in politics since 1992. He was also in PDM, People's Democratic Movement, led by Adeoye. And during that time, he was able to make a lot of inroads into northern Nigeria. So he's not a stranger when it comes to northern politics. I think without taking the risk of being, I think we can say that he's also an authority when it comes to politics in the north. So I believe he knows what he's doing. But then nobody is perfect in politics.
Sure.
A little error might be very costly. So I believe strongly that he should be able to call Kwankwaso, have a one-on-one meeting with him. Because I remember immediately he came to power, before he was sworn in, he traveled abroad, and there were reports that Kwankwaso went there to meet him. And Ganduje was not happy. That if you want to meet Kwankwaso, at least you have to consult me. So I believe that Kwankwaso has been quite a diplomat. He has been quite reasonable. He resigned without making any political statement, without creating any turbulence. So I think we should respect him on that basis. He could have led the party and then begin to threaten press conference and all that. So I think he has been quite diplomatic and quite matured.
Okay.
So I hope the president will see this quality in him and then invite him for a discussion and ensure that we will find a way to accommodate the two of them. After all, one was governor at the time and one was his deputy. So no matter the grievances, it will be very difficult to resolve. But I think the president should be able to have the wisdom to manage this very delicate situation to ensure that both of them are kept, in the party. The APC.
Two questions I have. Let me weave both of them into one. And the first one is judging from your response to Jibola's question now. So what we saw on Friday with Ganduje's resignation, could it also have been a calculated move by Mr. President Ganduje and the party members to like an agreement that, all right, we have reached an agreement and the best way to go about it is for Abdoulaye Ganduje to resign, and then the party will take it from there, as against what we're thinking that maybe Mr. President should do this. Could this have also been, they sat already, they agreed and they decided that the best way to forward would be for Abdoulaye Ganduje to ease off, especially as the national chair of the party, and allow for whatever, would happen next. And then the second question would be, as APC would be considering, the next chairman of the party, what are the mistakes they must not make to ensure that the unity of the party remains sacrosanct? Because it will be foolhardy to bring somebody now who will end up scattering the party as against, the unity Ganduje has been able to build in the last 2 years. So the first one, could this have just been an agreement by all parties that this is the best way to go? And secondly, the person who's going to take over. And if they decide that Dallery should continue, what are some of the things that he needs to do to strengthen the party?
Well, the first question is a possibility that the president had an understanding with the Ganduje. But there is no indication to that effect, judging from his letter of resignation.
Right.
If you read it line by line and do a psychoanalysis, it does not appear to me that the president was aware.
Okay.
Citing reasons and short statement. If the president was aware, I think it would have been, he would have resigned with merriment.
With glee.
With glee.
Right.
Going to the party and then calling people together. So, and then keeping quiet after that letter. Behind the calmness of the ocean lay a lot of turbulence that we cannot see.
Right.
So I don't think there are indications to me that he took the president into confidence. He may have raised the issue with the president. Probably the president did not make his position known to him. But I don't think there was an agreement within the party. And also when you look at Felix Moka, when they were asking questions, he wasn't certain. So if it was a party decision, somebody in his caliber, and also Bashiru, the secretary of the party, will have come out to say, look, this is our agreement.
It was a party decision.
So a lot of people were caught unawares, including top party officials.
Right.
Like the secretary and the public secretary and many other people like that. So it shows that the president may not have been briefed. He wasn't aware. He wasn't part of it. Probably would not have briefed. He would have, even if he had wanted Ganduje to leave the party, probably it would have been a different manner, not in this way. Then the second question, what I think the mistake the party should not make. Well, we just have to look at the mistakes of other parties. The party people that mistake people have made, in the past. Like in Yoruba folklore, Adeoye fún a leper may not be able to milk the cow, but it's in a position to contaminate the milk. So the party should not undermine anyone, no matter how little, no matter how you think that person is not important. So the party should learn not to be arrogant. The party should know how to manage its victory, because this was the same pathway that the PDP embarked on. At the time, the general secretary of the party was saying that, oh, we are going to rule Nigeria
for 60 years.
For 60 years. And the following election, they lost. So the party should not think that, the party is bigger than Nigerians. The Nigerians are the people that will vote at the end of the day. So you have to take the Nigerian people into cognizance. And your policies must not be built around individuals. That once we are able to settle this individual, then we have bought the masses. The masses have one tradition, they are very patient. But when they react, their reactions might be overwhelming. So I think the party should be loyal to Nigerians. Come out with the policies that will make you enjoy public trust, that will give confidence, that will instill confidence in the people that, look, people are ready to vote for you. So if you're having alignment, even when all the governors come to your party, if the people are not with you, there is no guarantee they are going to win the election. If when you read the election, you may not win the peace. So I think the lasting thing is that, an enduring philosophy is to carry out programs. If you are very popular, even when the governor is not supporting you, you will win. When some people are against you, they are leaving your party, but if the people are in your support, if people want to defend you, every time you will continue to win that election. So the greatest thing for the party is to ensure it enjoys the loyalty of the Nigerian people. Okay. I think that is the only thing that the party can sustain itself in power.
Okay, but beyond the people now, from the body language of the vice president, we can see that he's not happy. There was a function where he met the former chairman of the APC and he decided to snub him. Now Ganduje is also out. So obviously there's a crack in the party. How well do you think they should manage this thing so as to avoid doom ahead of 2027?
Well, I read a bit about the history of the Kanuri people, and their own sociology is very different. You cannot, the mind of a Kanuri man is not usually etched, on his face, on the movement of his eyeballs. So you hardly will be able to know
what they are thinking,
what he has in mind. And I think that is very dangerous for anybody who is in politics with them. So it's better for you, a Yoruba man will speak out even before you issue statements and all that. You can predict where he's going. But with a Kanuri man, you hardly can predict what they have in mind. So the party should be very careful. The party should be very tactical. They should not just think that the vice president can just be removed anyhow and nothing will happen. The vice president I remember the role he played during the campaign.
Right.
So even if there's a need to drop him, I don't think it should be handled the way former President Obasanjo handled, Atiku, who was in charge of the party and all that. So we should not assume that the vice president is just limited to Yobe and Borno State. There are a lot of people who, out of annoyance, just feel aggrieved that the way you are going to treat him. So even we are going to get him out, make sure that you give him a safe landing. Make sure that he does not leave the party. And I think it's not an impossible thing to do. The president has been he's a liberal democrat, that's the president. And I hope that the wisdom he used to manage Lagos may not necessarily be the same he needs to manage a very complex country like
Nigeria.
But he needs to learn from how he managed to resolve to ensure that his trend is still the one that's been in power since 1999. In spite of all the differences, the crisis, that trend remains in power. So you should be able to apply that wisdom at the national level by also learning from other people and engaging them, talking to them, so that because disagreement between two people can lead to a national crisis.
Right.
Remember what happened between Awolowo and Akintola? Akintola was a nobody, unquote. But when that crisis happened, a lot of external forces began to join him because they were targeting Awu. And before we knew what was happening, somebody that was, we imagine he was not a force at all to be reckoned with, led to declaration of state of emergency and then eventually the civil war. So we need to manage this crisis very well, and I hope the president will have the wisdom, because a lot of sacrifice around him who will give him a lot of, oh, that person is nobody. No, he can do nothing. But I hope the president will be able to engage his vice president, have constant interaction with him, so that even when you want to drop him, there should be an understanding with him.
Okay.
Right. We'll have to leave this conversation here this morning. Thank you so much, Adewale Adeoye, for finding time to be with us and the insight you've provided on this
Thank you very much.
topic today. Well, we dare say that with this conversation, I don't even know if it is better days lie ahead for the APC, but at the moment it is quite a tricky situation, and the APC would need to apply all the wisdom needed in this particular internal crisis to ensure that the party stays afloat ahead of the 2027 elections. Thank you for watching this side of the program this morning. We'll take a quick break. When the conversation returns, Adebinkwe and Joy will be here with their Lagos conversation.